Google just dropped Nanobanana 2. This is by far the best image generator and editor we have right now. This is way faster than the previous version, Nanobanana Pro, plus they claim it has much better world understanding, consistency, and prompt adherence. So in this video, I'm going to go over all the crazy things that you can do with it, and I'm going to compare this with the previous version of Nanobanana, plus I'm going to go over its specs and performance benchmarks and where you can use it for free. Let's jump right in. Now, before I start showing you some demos, it's worth mentioning that we already have a ton of image models that can do simple stuff like colorizing and restoring old photos, or removing watermarks, or changing the camera angle of a photo, or changing the pose of someone, doing clothes swapping, and all that fun stuff. This is already really easy to do, and all the top models can ace these tests already. So in this video, I'm mainly going to show you some extremely challenging prompts to really test the limits of Nanobanana 2. Alright, now one of the main advantages of Nanobanana is it has such a good world understanding of pretty much any famous celebrity or existing character in the world. We can prompt it to make a photo of a ton of celebrities all in the same shot. For example, here I have Johnny Depp, Jackie Chan, Taylor Swift, Tom Hanks, The Rock, Michael Jackson, Oprah, Blackpink, Cristiano Ronaldo, Elon Musk, Beyonce, Leonardo, Rihanna, Brad Pitt, Selena Gomez, Will Smith, Lady Gaga, Justin Bieber, Barack Obama, and Ariana taking a group selfie. And here is what we got from Nanobanana 2. You can see all the characters are actually present, and they do look like the actual celebrity. Now, because there's so many characters jam-packed into this one shot, the resolution isn't great, so you can see like some noise in the facial details of some of these characters, but overall it's not bad. And then for your reference, here is the generation from Nanobanana Pro. You can see the photo isn't really as coherent, plus it messed up Blackpink. That looks really weird. Anyways, as you can see, in terms of just the realism and coherence of the photo, this generation from the new Nanobanana looks much better than Nanobanana Pro, which kind of looks like they're all just glued together. This doesn't look very realistic. Now, in addition to realistic people, this also has an extremely good world knowledge of cartoon, anime, and 2D characters. So for example, here we have Levi Ackerman, Anya Forger, Rick and Morty, Gohan, Alphonse, Chika Fujiwara, Emilia, Gojo, Nezuko, Kuroro, Kenny, Bart Simpson, and Snow White taking a selfie. Notice that these are from a ton of different anime shows and American cartoons, Disney characters, and some of these aren't even like the main characters. These are just secondary characters. But as you can see, for both Nanobanana models, they were able to understand and generate all of these characters really well. So first, let's inspect Nanobanana 2. I can't really spot any errors with this. It can generate everyone very well. And it looks like it put them in some Anime Expo 2024. Pretty cool. It even got the fingers correct, so you can see that actually Kenny and Bart Simpson only has 4 fingers, which is what they actually have in the real cartoon. And then here we have Nanobanana Pro, and again, it got pretty much all the characters correct. I can't really spot any flaws with this. So overall, I would say it's a pass and a tie between both models. Alright, next, here's a test on how good it is at generating tricky expressions. This still trips up even the top image generators out there. So here we have a 4x4 grid of a young female with these emotions. From left to right, top to bottom, we have happiness, awe, enthusiasm, confidence, sadness, jealousy, irritation, embarrassment, surprise, confusion, nostalgia, fear, love, relief, pride, and anticipation. So let's review Nanobanana 2 first. She does look happy, this does look awe. The first row looks very good. She does look like each of these emotions. Even the confidence one, which is pretty tricky, it rendered this very well. And then for the second row, we have sadness, jealousy, irritation, embarrassment. And even for these 3, jealousy, irritation, and embarrassment, it also rendered these very well. And then for the third row, we have surprise, confusion, nostalgia, and fear. It's also really good. Like, she does look confused here, and this does look like nostalgia. And then for the last row, we have love, relief, pride, and anticipation. For love, I'm not sure if this really looks like love. Let me know in the comments below. This one looks really good. She does look relieved, and I guess this does look like pride. Anticipation looks very good. And then here we have the previous Nanobanana Pro. So for the first row, it's very good. Here's the second row. Jealousy looks kind of weird. I wouldn't say it's as good as Nanobanana 2. For the third row, all of these look pretty good. And then here's the last row for love and pride. Let me know in the comments if this actually looks like love and pride to you. For relief, this does look pretty accurate, and then same with anticipation. So overall, both of them are decent, but if I had to pick a winner, I would have to go for Nanobanana 2. It looks just slightly more realistic for some expressions, especially for jealousy and awe. Alright, here's an even trickier test. I got it to make a 4x4 grid featuring Pokemon with these Pokedex numbers. And here's what I got. Now, interestingly, even though I got it to make a 4x4 grid, Nanobanana Pro kind of hallucinated and gave me a 3x5 grid instead. So it messed this up pretty badly. But anyways, let's go over Nanobanana 2 first. So 07 is Squirtle, and then 18 is Pidgeot. These are all correct, and they also look correct. And then for the second row, these are also correct. Now for the third row, 201 is really tricky because this is unknown. So there's actually an unknown for each letter of the alphabet. Here it says the label is unknown A, but if I Google what unknown A looks like, it should look like this. So this one is actually wrong. Again, this is a really tricky prompt. I don't expect it to get it 100% correct. And then for the last row, we also have an error for this one, Cascoon, which should actually look like this. So Nanobanana 2 completely messed this up. So it got 2 out of the 16 wrong. Now the previous Nanobanana Pro didn't do too well either. So again, it hallucinated and gave me a 3x5 grid. So it has repeats here like Golduck and Moron, apparently. So this is completely wrong. And then it also added this extra Grimer here, which is really weird. And then for unknown, let me just double check if there is an unknown with this shape. And it doesn't look like anything in this diagram. I was expecting it to be a K or an F, but this looks slightly off, so that's also a fail. However, it did get Cascoon correct over here. So I don't know, I would say it's a tie between these two models. Both of them were not able to get unknown correct. The new Nanobanana 2 wasn't able to get Cascoon correct, but it was able to follow my 4x4 grid instruction in the prompt, whereas for Nanobanana Pro, it did not give me a 4x4 grid, but it got Cascoon correct. So there's pros and cons to each. Alright, here's another cool test on its world understanding. Here I got it to make a high resolution Where's Waldo image. It should be very complex and filled with meme characters. Waldo should be hidden somewhere in the image. So here's what we got from Nanobanana 2. You can see a ton of meme characters in this image, including this rainbow cat, plus Doge over here, meme coins, plus all these different meme characters. This is really cool. And it did insert Waldo in the photo, although he isn't really hidden. And then I guess we have an extra Waldo clone here, which isn't really correct. But anyways, that is Nanobanana 2. You can see that it has a really good world understanding of all these meme characters. And then here's what we got from Nanobanana Pro. Also really impressive, and it did insert Waldo somewhere in the image. So I would say both of these are okay, but in terms of the quality and how similar it is to an actual Where's Waldo image, I would have to give the point to Nanobanana Pro. This looks a lot more detailed and complex, and it resembles a Where's Waldo image a lot more. Let me know in the comments what you think. Alright, here's another really tricky prompt, which I don't expect it to get 100% correct. So here's a grid of the 6 most endangered frogs in the world with their scientific name and a short description at the bottom of each photo. So here is what I got from Nanobanana 2. The first one it gave me is a mountain chicken frog. I have not heard of this frog. This looks super normal to me, but let me just Google its scientific name really quickly. And would you look at that? There is a Leptodactylus phalanx frog, and it is called the mountain chicken frog, and it is critically endangered, and it does look like this. And then next up we have this Panamanian golden frog. Let me again Google this really quickly. And here's our result. It does look like this. It is called the Panamanian golden frog, and this is critically endangered and possibly extinct in the wild, which is very sad. But there you go, this is also correct. Now next one we have this Titicaca water frog, which looks like, oh my god, what is it doing? Anyways, it should look something like this, I guess. Now, this is endangered. It's not critically endangered. I'm not sure if it's like part of the top 10 most endangered frogs out there. I would say the photo doesn't look exactly like the real thing. And then next we have this golden mantella frog, which indeed exists, and pretty cool. It has a golden form and a red form. It has an extremely restricted distribution, and so here it lists it as endangered. So apparently it's only found in this tiny part of Madagascar. Pretty crazy. So this does look correct, and then we have Archie's frog from New Zealand, and here's what it looks like in real life, and this is critically endangered. So I guess going back to this photo from Nanobanana, it looks kind of similar to the real thing. I wouldn't say it's like 100% correct. And then finally we have this Kihanzi spray toad, which looks like this, and this is extinct in the wild. Very sad. Again, I wouldn't say this looks like the real thing. Here are some additional photos. The real frog looks a lot more yellow. So I would say it got like the descriptions and the names correct, but in terms of the photos, it's not that good. And I don't expect it to get this correct. This is a really tricky prompt because an AI model needs a lot of existing data to know and generate that thing. But if we have these critically endangered species with only a few photos, then it's really hard for an AI to actually understand and generate this from scratch. Anyways, here is the generation from Nanobanana Pro, and interestingly, it gave me like 4 different frogs compared to the generation from Nanobanana 2. So this Panamanian golden frog we've gone over before, and then we have this Psychrophrynella Andes frog, which apparently is so rare that there's not even any information about this. And then we have this midwife toad, which looks like this, and this is endangered, and it's only found in small parts of this tiny island somewhere in the world. Now, I wouldn't say this image looks exactly like the real thing, so this is wrong. And then we have this Alcatraz snouted tree frog, which is critically endangered, and it looks something like this. I would say it's pretty close. And then this one we've gone over already, and then we have this Hamilton's frog, which looks like this, and apparently this is vulnerable globally but nationally critical. And it's only found in like these small islands in New Zealand. Pretty crazy. Now it looks something like this. So again, it's not like entirely correct, but it's pretty close. Anyways, it's a tough call here. Let me know in the comments which one you prefer. Now the awesome thing about Nanobanana Pro is you can upload multiple images and get it to edit those images. So here I'm testing to see if it can help me do homework. Here I'm going to upload this worksheet of an animal cell, and for the prompt I got to fill in the blanks and use messy handwriting so it looks like I actually did it. So here's what I got from both models. Here's Nanobanana 2, and as you can see it can get some stuff correct but not all of them. So for example, mitochondrion it got correct, and then cell membrane it also got correct, same with cytoplasm, Golgi apparatus, and then rough endoplasmic reticulum it also got correct. However, it also labeled some of them completely wrong. So for example, this one here should be the nucleus, not the nucleolus, and then this one here should be the nucleolus, not the rough ER. And then here's what I got from the previous Nanobanana Pro, and I would say it got even more stuff wrong. So for example, here it labeled the cell membrane to be the nucleolus, which is just absolutely horrible. And then here, this should be the cytoplasm, but it labeled it the cell membrane. In terms of having the fewest errors, I would say Nanobanana 2 did a better job. However, note that for some strange reason, it turned this into like a photocopy. This looks like a photo of this worksheet, whereas for Nanobanana Pro, it retained the original white background. Alright, maybe biology was too hard for it, so here I uploaded this math assignment and also got it to solve these problems with messy handwriting. And here's what I got from Nanobanana 2. You can see it does look like I wrote this. It even added this part over here as if I crossed this out to make this look more natural. Pretty sneaky. And then here is Nanobanana Pro's generation. This is also really good. This also does look like the answers are handwritten. However, it got a lot more errors with this generation. For example, here it repeated this divide by 4.8 twice, which is not correct. We only need one line. And then over here, this is also wrong. Whereas you can see for Nanobanana 2, it's actually able to show my work a lot more correctly. So in this instance, I would have to give the point to Nanobanana 2. I've been covering the best image and video generators, and it can get very overwhelming. Fortunately, Higgsfield, the sponsor of this video, brings everything together all in one place. You can use the best image and video models all in one integrated platform. They're usually the first to release models when they come out, and Nanobanana 2 is already available on their platform. Simply click on Image and then Nanobanana 2 to start creating. And they just launched Higgsfield Sol 2. their own foundation image model built specifically for creative, fashion-aware, culture-native image generation. This isn't just a general-purpose image generator. Sol 2 is designed to give you aesthetically awesome images. Let me show you how this actually works. So inside Higgsfield, under Image, simply click on Sol 2, and here you can just enter a text prompt and then also select the aspect ratio and the resolution. Or if you want more control, Sol Reference lets you upload an image and generate new variations that feel like they belong to the same visual world. And it doesn't stop there. Because Sol 2.0 is built to be the foundation of your creative process, it pairs really well with other tools inside Higgsfield like Nanobanana Pro. The idea is simple. Generate your image in Sol 2.0 first, nail the lighting, composition, and aesthetic, and then bring it into Nanobanana Pro for editing. The stronger your base, the better everything downstream looks. Sol 2.0 currently comes with 20 curated presets, things like Y2K, editorial street style, old smartphone, and more. These are fully trained aesthetic directions that act as creative starting points. It understands fashion culture, camera mediums, and even posing. You get more natural body language, better physics, and editorial quality results. Try Nanobanana 2, Sol 2.0, and other top models on Higgsfield today. Click the link in the description below. Alright, here's an even harder test. So I uploaded this image and I got it to put this image into 4 quadrants. For the first quadrant, it needs to be an infrared thermal map of the photo. For the second quadrant, it should be a segmentation map of the photo. For the third quadrant, it should be a depth map. And for the fourth quadrant, the photo should have inverted colors. So first of all, here's what I got from Nanobanana 2. For this infrared map, it's actually pretty good. So indeed, her skin should be warmer than, for example, her dress plus this sofa. But she should also be emitting heat, so like parts of the sofa where she's touching should be more yellow, which is indeed correct. I'm not sure why it's making her eyes and then her knees here white though. So the white part is an error. For the windows in the background, they should be a lot cooler, and that's why these are darker in color. So the infrared map is like 80% correct. Here is the segmentation map. This is pretty good. Here's the depth map. This also looks pretty good. And then here is the inverted pictures. So if I invert the colors, while this is close, these aren't the original colors of the photo, which should look like this. So again, not entirely correct here. And then here is Nanobanana Pro's generation. For the heat map, it's pretty good. However, one slight error here is that maybe the dress should actually be lighter in color. So in that case, I would have to give the point more to Nanobanana 2. And then here's the segmentation map, here's the depth map, and then here is the inversion. Let me invert the colors again, and here is the original photo. So again, not entirely correct here. Anyways, this is a really tricky prompt. Let me know in the comments which one you prefer. Alright, next here's a tricky prompt that no image generator has gotten correct so far. So the prompt is 11:15 on a clock and a wine glass filled to the top. For Nanobanana 2, it's not really clear which hand is the minute hand and which is the hour hand, so I mean, at least to me, this one looks shorter, so it's like showing 2:55 instead of 11:15. And then the wine glass is also not filled to the top. Very disappointing. And then here is Nanobanana Pro. The wine glass is filled to the top, however, it failed to generate 11:15. It was very close, but the hour hand should be a quarter past 11, and not exactly at 11. So both are not good, but in terms of the least amount of errors, I would have to give the point to Nanobanana Pro. Alright, next I uploaded this manga page and got it to colorize and translate this to Chinese. So here's what I got from Nanobanana 2. The Chinese looks perfect, and the colorization is also really good. It's also able to detect that this dude is called Red Hair Shanks, and then color this guy's hair red. And then here is Nanobanana Pro. It also got the Chinese and the coloration correct, but you know, an interesting difference here is that for Nanobanana 2, it decided to translate this into traditional Chinese, whereas for the Pro version, it translated it into simplified Chinese. Very interesting. Alright, next here's the test on its spatial understanding. So I uploaded this floor plan, and here's my prompt. Based on this floor plan, generate a photo of this room from the main door. So not only does it need to analyze the spatial configuration of this room, but it also needs to understand where the main door is, which is over here, and generate a photo from this corner. Now here's what I got from Nanobanana 2. Unfortunately, this is not correct. There are some errors with this. For example, the bathroom should be in this corner and not over here. And then there should be sofas and plants over here in the foreground instead of on this left wall. The piano is also facing the wrong direction. It should be facing the lower right corner instead. So a lot of errors with this generation. It does not look like the floor plan's configuration at all. And then here is Nanobanana Pro's generation. It was able to get the configuration of things more correct, but this wasn't a photo of the room from the main door over here. So ideally, I would want it to make a photo of this room taken from this corner. However, it did get more details correct. For example, the round bed plus the piano should be facing the lower right corner, plus the sofas and plants here are also correct according to this original floor plan. So in terms of having fewer errors, I would have to give the point to Nanobanana Pro. Now here's a test on the reverse. Here I got to make a 2D floor plan of this room, and then I uploaded this image. Here's what I got from Nanobanana 2, and everything looks pretty good. The configurations of the plants and the sofas, plus the TV screen, everything looks correct to me. Now, interestingly for Nanobanana Pro, this one had more errors. For example, it added 2 additional sofas here, which did not exist in the original photo. Plus, the plants in the foreground are also not correct. So here I would have to give the point to Nanobanana 2. Now, Nanobanana is also extremely good in converting data tables into charts. So for example, I can just upload this data table and then prompt it to turn it into a nice chart. You can decide the best type of chart to use. And here's what I got from Nanobanana 2. And the numbers are actually correct. So if I compare like the first 2 bars, here the total sample size is 88, which is correct. And then we have 5, 50, 28, 2, and 3, which is what we have here. And then for this RR%, it's 62.5, which is correct. And then for full Fox, the sample size is 52, which is correct. Then we have 2, 26, 21, 2, and 1, which are correct over here. And then we have 53.8, which is the RR%, which is correct. It even added a nice legend at the bottom, plus some nice styling for this chart. However, if you look at the third row, then here is where it starts to fall apart. So here the sample size is 7, which is correct, but then it should be 2, 3, 1, 0, 1. However, as you can see here, the size of these bars are way too tall, so this should be way smaller in size. Now, if you compare this same bar with Nanobanana Pro, it actually got this correct. So indeed, it should be 2, 3, 1, and 1, so this is actually a lot better than Nanobanana 2. In terms of accuracy and the least amount of errors, in this instance, I would have to give the points to Nanobanana Pro. Alright, so that sums up my series of really challenging tests. Hopefully that gives you a sense of the strengths and weaknesses of Nanobanana 2, and how it compares with the previous version. Here are some additional examples from Google. Here we can get it to generate a flat lay infographic depicting the water cycle, and it's able to generate this pretty much flawlessly. With both models of Nanobanana, you can input multiple reference images. So here they're inputting like 14 reference images into the same photo, and it's able to generate this very well. You can of course also use Nanobanana to crop or outpaint or change the aspect ratio of an existing photo. Next, let's go over the specs of Nanobanana 2 and why this is so good. First of all, note that Nanobanana 2 is based off of Gemini 3.1 Flash, whereas Nanobanana Pro, the previous version, was based off of Gemini 3 Pro. There's pros and cons of each, right? For this one, it's the latest 3.1, which is better than 3.0, but it's also Flash and not Pro. So this is more designed for speed, whereas the Pro version is designed for quality. Now, if you've been using Nanobanana Pro, then definitely one of the main disadvantages is you have to wait a long time for it to generate an image. Whereas for this new Nanobanana 2, it can generate an image in only a few seconds. So it's way faster while having very similar quality and understanding. Here are some additional specs for your reference. So this can maintain character resemblance of up to 5 characters and the fidelity of up to 14 objects in a single prompt. It also has enhanced instruction following, as you can see from some of my tests. So it's really good at prompt adherence. You can generate photos in multiple aspect ratios and resolutions from 512 pixels all the way to 4K resolution. The really awesome thing about Nanobanana 2 is they've added 4 new aspect ratios, 4:1, 8:1, and vice versa. So this allows you to create some super long panoramic photos like this, which aren't possible with earlier versions of Nanobanana. Now the awesome thing is they've released Nanobanana 2 already, and you can use it for free across Google's platforms right now. So here it says, if you're using the Gemini app, then Nanobanana 2 will replace Nanobanana Pro across the Fast Thinking and Pro models. In other words, on the Gemini app, if you click on Create Image, it automatically uses the latest Nanobanana 2 already. And apparently in AI mode, when you're using Google search, you also have access to Nanobanana 2. For example, if you're doing a Google search, well, you can click on this AI mode to basically pull up Gemini to answer the question for you. And then over here, you can prompt it further to, for example, generate an infographic or any other image from this topic. And it would proceed to use Nanobanana 2 to generate an image for you. So here's what I got. How cool is that? So you can get Gemini to do a Google search on a specific topic first, and then get Nanobanana to create an image on your topic. Really cool. Everything is seamlessly integrated into this AI mode in Google search already. Now, in addition, you can also use this via Google's AI Studio. So it's just aistudio.google.com, which I'll link to in the description below. And here is where you can click on image generation and then use the new Nanobanana 2. Now here it says you do need to link a paid API key to access Nanobanana 2 via this AI Studio platform. But the advantage of this is you can control a lot more settings like temperature, the aspect ratio, the resolution, notice that this is up to 4K, plus you can also control the thinking level, as well as turn on grounding with Google search so it can actually do a web search for accurate and relevant information before generating your image. So those are the main platforms where you can use the latest Nanobanana 2. Now, how good is this compared to the other leading models? Well, as you can see from this independent leaderboard called Artificial Analysis, Nanobanana 2, at least the initial ELO score, is actually ranked number 1, at least for text to image, well above GPT Image 1.5 and Nanobanana Pro. And if you look at the API pricing of this, notice that this is like 2 times cheaper than Nanobanana Pro. So it's way cheaper and faster, and on average, you get a better quality generation. Now, this is just the text to image leaderboard. Next, if you look at image editing, this is where you upload an image for it to edit further. Then interestingly, Nanobanana 2 actually ranks below Nanobanana Pro. And as I showed you from some of my tests, I also get a similar vibe. It's not as accurate, especially if you get it to edit some really complex stuff with a lot of text or data. Anyways, that sums up my review of Nanobanana 2. This is currently one of the best models you can use right now, and this is way faster and cheaper than the previous Nanobanana Pro model. It's already out and free for you to use on the Gemini app, so definitely give it a shot and let me know in the comments what you think of it. What other cool stuff were you able to get it to do? Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, remember to like and subscribe. And if you've made it to here, I've got a treat for you. I'm partnering with Nvidia to give away an RTX 5090 GPU around their GTC 2026 event. With this, you can easily run AI tools locally on your computer. Here's how to enter. Simply click the link in the description to register and attend at least one GTC 2026 session, which will be on March 16th to 19th. You can attend virtually or in person. Here are some of my favorites. Jensen Huang's keynote is an obvious one, but this one on humanoid robots at scale, as well as this one on open world models, are also on my watch list. Again, make sure you sign up for GTC using the link in the description below, and then afterwards fill out the form and you're good to go. It's totally free to enter.